Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. Usually I do um my like top words, I guess you could say, on Wednesdays. So I hashtag it Women Rock Wednesday. And I was back and forth for the past 2 days on whether or not I was going to go live. But here I am, finally going live. So thank you to all of my subscribers. And I have a word for you today. Well, for us today. And I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. I'm not going to waste any time. Okay. So I got this word about the first part of this year. I can't really remember um, what day it was because I didn't write the date. But, I was just spending time with the Lord, and I um I got the message, stay afloat. Okay. So I instantly began to, question, like, well, once I am in the middle of my assignment and, things are pulling me left and right and, I'm busy, 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 um, how do I maintain, staying afloat? And when he says stay afloat, he mean when he was saying stay afloat, what he was speaking to me was to, remain in him, okay, to stay connected to him, stay afloat, okay. So he took me to Peter, and I didn't even write that scripture down, but um Jesus was standing on the water, and he said, Lord, is that you? And Peter got nervous, okay, when the waves, began to crash and it began to rain. So that was a picture of, me saying when I'm busy and, this thing is pulling me and this thing has my attention, and, I'm really trying to focus and really do, what God has called me to do. How am I to stay afloat? So I got nervous just like Peter did. And the scripture says that the reason Peter became nervous or afraid was because he took his eyes off of Jesus. He started looking around at the waves and the rain falling, and all this stuff. So, he continued to talk, and he was just telling me to, um, first thing Peter had to do was make the decision. Okay, make the decision. Hey, Felipe, and Pedro. Felipe, I've never seen you in the comments before, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how everything goes. Okay. But the first thing Peter had to do to even step out on that water was to, make the decision that he wanted to follow Christ. Okay. So that has to be the most important thing. Your relationship with Christ has to be first. Okay. On top of, no matter how, you know, much God elevates you, no matter how prosperous you are, you know, God has to be first in your life. You have to get that settled in your mind. And then somebody's calling. And then your next move is you gotta disconnect. You gotta be sure to be disconnected from everything that the Lord has told you to step away from. Remember, Peter, he stepped away from his fishing business, so whatever has been coming up in your life, you know, screaming for your attention, you have to be sure to disconnect, like sever, all the way from those things. So the next thing was, I started thinking of the things outside of, business, um, responsibilities, other things that would probably get your attention, take your eyes off of your relationship with the Lord. And, I was just going to call out the normal things. First thing, social media, that'll pull you away. People, um, the jealousy and envy, the normal things, the things that we usually think that we are dealing with. Okay. So as I'm listing the things, he gave me this word, and the word is debauchery. And I'm talking about, when that word came, it felt so heavy. Like, I mean this. Okay, like, this is what I want you to talk about. So I don't use the word debauchery. Okay, so I had to Google it, find out how to even spell it, and then of course I had to get the definition for it. So let me go ahead and give you the definition for debauchery. And I'm not gonna like speed through this. I'm gonna take my time. So okay, here it is. Debauchery is the extreme indulgence in bodily pleasures, and especially sensual pleasures. And then it goes on to list drugs and alcohol. Now remember, I was just gonna, use think on the regular things, but he called out this word debauchery. And I mean, I'm telling you, it like it just hit so hard. So when we think about debauchery is the sins of the flesh. Okay, and this is jealousy, gossip, what is it? Let me see what I got here. Okay, jealousy, gossip, like sexual sin. And I didn't write this down, but I was thinking about it earlier. Pornography would probably this debauchery. So these are the things, that could grab your attention. Okay. And it talks about further on how these things could creep in, unknowingly. So that was sins of the flesh. And then he went on to talk about the sins of the heart. So this includes anger, lust, envy, sinful thoughts, desires, and pride. So these are kind of like the secret sins. Hey Leo, these are like the secret sins. So as he's, talking to me about this, and I'm writing these things down, the scripture about the foxes. Okay, catch for us the little foxes that spoil the vineyards, for our vineyards are in bloom. And I did a video about 2 weeks ago about us in bloom. If you want to go back and watch it, please do so. But what the scripture is telling us, that the little foxes can spoil, the vine or the vineyards. And he's praying, catch for us the little foxes, because they can spoil our vineyards. And debauchery is that thing that God, was talking to me about. So the secret sins, and the reason why he used foxes is because foxes are known as destructive animals. Excuse me. They can come in and kill your livestock. They can dig up your gardens, searching for food. Like, they can really be dangerous, to your livestock and your gardens and your food and things of that nature. So this debauchery would be just like, or the sins of the hearts would be these little foxes. Okay, they will come in unknown, and also they're like secret or hidden sins. Okay, things that only you know about. Okay, that anger and that jealousy and that envy. Okay, and then he gave me an example, of this hidden sin. Achan. Let me see if I can find it. Y'all, I be all over my notebook when I'm writing things down. For some reason, it just don't it. I can't get it to like can't write it down in order. But here it goes right here. Okay, so in Joshua's story, he brought to my attention Achan. Okay, so the Israelites had, conquered Jericho, and the not to take anything with them from Jericho, that these were accursed, okay, items. So what Achan done was he secretly, I think it said that he found a beautiful cloak and silver and gold. And what he did was he brought them back and hid them into his tent. Hey, Maxine and Leo, if I didn't already speak, he brought them back into his tent. So God had already promised Joshua that, they were going to take on this next city and they were going to succeed. They were going to be successful and win. Okay. So when that did not happen, Joshua was confused and he was like, well, Lord, what happened? You told me that we were going to, take over this next land. And it was by God's grace that he revealed to Joshua that, Achan, he brought in some accursed items. Now, remember, we're back. This goes along with the sins of the flesh and sins of, the spirit, the debauchery and all these things, the little foxes, okay? He said Achan. It was Achan that brought in those accursed items. And this is the reason for your defeat. So they had to go and, Achan had to bring those things to the forefront, and because of this disobedience of one man, I think it said 36 people, well, it said a whole nation was wiped out because of the sin of that one man. So can you see how important this is? Brought on Achan for bringing in the accursed items was him, his family, his livestock, and all of his possessions was stoned and burned to death. Okay, so when this video first started, I said that this was kind of like an encouraging word, but it's also a warning, to get